students in the Masters of Fine Arts at IUP, an important part of their program is their MFA Thesis Exhibition. This annual showcase features the work of students completing their degrees. To present their hard work and accomplishments, the candidates must fill the multiple venues on campus with cutting-edge modern artwork in a variety of media. Art students in the MFA program have the opportunity to choose from mediums such as painting, drawing, jewelry and metals, ceramics, sculpture, fibers, and wood turning and furniture design. In spring 2015, the Master of Fine Arts Thesis Exhibition took place from February 7th to March 5th. Given the extensive range of works, the exhibition included 3 venues: the University Museum, Kipp Gallery, and the Kipp Gallery Annex. 8 emerging artists in the final stages of their graduate program showcased the exploration of personal vision, using each medium's traditional and contemporary practices. The MFA degree signals the highest level of academic achievement for visual artists in the United States. Featured artist Garrick Tylee explained why he decided to become a part of the IUP program.
Most importantly, I got into this program to just be able to dedicate and devote my time to art. Over the course of grad school, it was amazing just to be able to go into the studio for like 10, 12 hours a day and not worry about part-time jobs, not worry about like, oh, I gotta pay bills and all these sorts of things. So it was just, there's a certain freedom there that I was able to just really get down and explore what was potentially to become my future career. The facilities, really great. So down at, I keep calling it Bob Shaw, but it's the Robert Shaw building where ceramics and sculpture are. Huge space. It's like, used to be manufacturing, so you have like a lot of room to work with, which is really great because it allows you to kind of like scale up any size of the work that you want. MIG, TIG, metal, wood, there's really like any medium you want to work in, the opportunity is here to explore it. And I think that's really important when you're an artist to not just say, oh, I'm only a clay artist, it has to be made out of clay. You know, you gotta explore all the different options for the media and figure out what's best.
Garrick Tylee is not the only MFA candidate who feels as though the program has a lot to offer. James Battistelli felt the facilities greatly expanded his potential.
Allow me to explore different things technically that I was not capable of in the past. The facilities here are really good. We have access to amazing metal setup over in the Robert Shaw building in the sculpture area with MIG welders, TIG welders, arc welders, casting, everything that an artist could want. And then over in the wood department in the Sprouse building, we have access to technologies like laser cutters, CAD programs, things that if you have some design experience, you can make something three-dimensionally out of wood, which is very beneficial.
The facilities available for the MFA program offer a variety of different mediums to choose from, enabling the students to create their own unique pieces of artwork. For Nicole Paulina, her choice of mediums emerged as she created her project, greatly influencing her work.
I have other materials in this. Most importantly, I'd say, is this ladder, which I made out of wood. I'm not a woodworker, although there was quite a lot of wood in this show, so perhaps, I don't know, I've learned a lot by trial and error, but I certainly didn't know what I was doing. But this ladder was a turning point for me because what it did is it elevated this piece. It visually elevated it, figuratively elevated it. It made it more of a presence, I feel. And it also gave me a problem. And what I like to do is when I work, I call it like a visual problem problem. There's always a problem, you have to fix it. And then it leads to another problem, you have to fix it. So now I knew that I was gonna have this ladder, and I knew I wanted the submarine suspended above it. So what do? I have to weld this rod, and then I have to wrap it in rope. So then all of a sudden hemp becomes important in all the rest of my work because it's included in this first one. So I had this on this rod and I bent it, and all of a sudden the submarine was in motion. So then that became really important for everything else that the submarines were doing. They're all like, well, the 3 on this side are in some sort of motion. So because of this first one, because of this ladder, because of the decisions I made, which, we're all artists here, they just sort of pop in your head and you either go with them or you fight them, and I decided to go with them.
Peter Mullen chose his mediums beforehand.
I used what they call like a Xerox transfer method using Citrosolve. And what I would do is I would come up with my idea of the scene. I would kind of draw it out, and then of course I had all the drawn elements that I had to put in, such as Fred, the landscapes, kind of environment. I usually drew those. But then I would also have to find photographs and stuff of Johnny Cash, young or old Johnny Cash. And then I would basically collage them together, make a digital copy of it, and then I could print it out and then actually print it onto the MDF board. Once it was printed on the MDF board, then I would be able to draw it and put it together and paint and do whatever I wanted on it.
Each student drew upon many different influences as well to help them create their final project. Artist Nicole Paulina used submarines as a metaphor for her own life.
And so for my thesis, what I wanted to really explore is the idea of home, and that has to do with the architectural elements of it that make up a home. It also has to do with the family and the people that you surround yourself with who live in that home environment with you. So I explore all of them, although I definitely lean a little bit more towards the relationship side of things, the relationships that help create the idea of home. The idea of the submarine, people ask, where did that come from? That's so random. It's sort of a very simple metaphor for me and my experience and my journey through life as an artist, as a woman, as a person who is not just going to stay in the small town I was raised in. So it became sort of like a really playful way to talk about the buoyancy of this journey that I'm on. So that's where the submarine came from.
Singer Johnny Cash is featured in the work of Peter Mullen with a mix of science fiction as an inspiration for his work.
My illustrations are mostly science fiction and fantasy related kind of projects. And ever since I was a little kid, I always loved sci-fi. Sci-fi to me was always had a lot of great, deeper meanings when you read and watch movies, you know, especially the old comics. And so part of this process for me was coming up with a fun story, but then at the same time elevating it to that sort of fine art world, using it as a mirror on our society. But Johnny Cash, he was the starfighter. From that moment on, I always had this, like, Johnny Cash would be great in space. And I think that's just kind of what built that idea. And along with the fact that, you know, I've always loved the way he told his stories, his songs. You know, I like the cadence of his voice. And that's one of those elements that I kind of want. Of course, you really can't hear his voice, but I think there's enough people in the world familiar with Johnny Cash that you can kind of like see him saying some of the things that are in this.
Eastern and Western influences were used to address spirituality in the work of MFA candidate Tyler Rawl.
My thesis exhibition is titled Contemplating Mortality. It is an exhibition that encourages viewers to consider and think about themes concerning this issue. It was influenced by Western and Eastern thoughts of thinking. I was trying to create more of a spiritual, kind of chapel-like environment in which the viewers can, address these themes.
In creating their works, the artists reveal parts of themselves. James Battistelli used his artwork to show different stages in his life.
The pieces in this room address my hopes for a legacy. So this piece here is a den that I created that personifies my hopes to inspire someone, inspire a kid, and be able to influence someone like my parents influenced me. Contained within this space, you can see that something has grown and has been living in it and has kind of broken out and is starting to start its own exploration of this space.
The MFA candidates wanted to inspire and evoke thoughts and feelings from the viewer.
I wanted to speak to the metaphor that we are very impermanent beings, and the one commonality that we all share is that one day we're not going to be here anymore. So I definitely wanted to speak to and create a really captivating portrait that encourages the viewers to experience that. I think that especially in being 25 years old, sometimes we think that we're immortal, and we don't really think about these issues. And so definitely being able to spark that feeling in the viewer is very important to me.
Although they used an assortment of materials and influences to create their final projects, the pieces of work came together beautifully to create an aesthetically pleasing and thought-provoking exhibition.